Now, that is the first formal study that was done by a psychiatrist from Arkansas. And this Dennis, I don't remember the state he's from, but because of his son, he was interested in this and helped her with this. Now, we will stop there and start up again in the part 2 of this attention deficit disorder about the evidence that individuals can go into to try to determine the benefits of more comprehensive nutrition built around the active ingredient from the aloe vera, which is called Acemannan. Now, a children's formulation was made, and they were called phyto bears. It was a good tasting, kind of like candy that had all types of nice colors from a small company in California, but it went over so well. The company producing this had to go to a larger company that had a greater capacity. And when they sent the formulation to them, it came back that they were all little brown bears with all the nutrition in them. And what we found out is that the first company had reduced the amount of micronutrients to make sure they were colorful. So these brown bears, nobody wanted. And we had about 25,000 of them sitting in the warehouse that looked kind of like dried raisins or prunes. And it just sat there, and they worked with the formula till we got the nice colors again, and it would sell and people would get benefits. But it sat there, and there was an individual in Chicago that personally had attention deficit disorder. And he approached me about, I want to go to different schools in the Chicago area and go to the special education teachers and try to have a study in special education groups where children are underperforming. Well, in all the public schools, they threw him out and said we wouldn't even consider it. However, I remember being at a conference in Chicago, and a church in Cabrini Green had been formed, and they had over 50 children that had fallen through the cracks of the Chicago public school system, special education and all these children were on different medications, and they had ADD, ADHD, and they wanted to work with this individual that said that we would like to give you these brown bears if you will give them to the students and just see what happens with more comprehensive nutrition. And you have the authors there that was the principal of the school and the person in charge of diet at the church school. And it was published in August 2003, volume 3, number 1. And the title was the Chicago Results Project. Dietary supplements containing micronutrients improve student attitudes and performance. And I'm going to share with you the results that we're seeing. Now, the total number of students was 58, and that included children that were too young to really be graded, sort of preschool students that weren't getting grades, but 41 actually got grades. And they were divided into A, B, C, D, and E groups of different students at different class ages of grade school. And you can see that the grade point average was increased on the far right column in every group. And this scoring there was a very poor, a marginal, average, or superior, or exemplary. And as we say, the teachers did not rate any of them as exemplary, but a number reached either rose to average or superior performance. And they also had subjective study evaluations there in the middle, which also improved. But let's get to this summary of this activity in more detail. Now, each child was given a brown bear on arrival at noon at the end of the day for the school days, but none on the weekend. Now, the brown bear had 14 fruits and vegetable powders, and the active ingredient from the aloe, Acemannan, which we said in the previous lecture, was utilized to make a domain on every cell in the body, which included cells in the brain. Those on medication, it was continued, and a quantitative assessment was made on each child. And in addition, we had an independent out-of-state monitor visit the school twice and interviewed the teachers. Those interviews were very important because when he first arrived, the teachers, every one of them said they were looking for another position because there was such bedlam in this school of these ADD, ADHD children. The noise level, the cooperation was so poor that they could see no evidence of the benefits of their efforts to try to teach these children. On the second visit of the out-of-state monitor, he found out that all the teachers were just enamored with the changes in the school and in each student. And they could now see benefits of their efforts to try to teach the children, and that there was much more harmony. The school was quieter. The conflicts between students, the conflicts between students and the teacher were down, and they were getting fulfillment of their teaching. So out-of-state interviews with those that are in charge of the students are, I think, quite important. Now, among that, we had evaluation forms, and you can see on the first figure or plate 2 that conflicts went from what would call 70%, which is above average, to below average. They rated it about a 34%. That the noise in the classroom and in the halls went from 88% approaching intolerable, dropped to just a little above average. I believe that's 56%. And disruptions in the classroom by these very active students, I went from 75% to 30%. In the dark columns are the post-dietary supplementation that we described, and the assessments beforehand are the lighter ones. Now, other positive improvements, number 1 was ability to grasp facts. Look at the improvement, because in this one, the dark and the light are quite different. That they did the assessment for ability to grasp facts went from 30 to 60%. No, that's 80%. Pardon me. That's a very marked improvement. Class participation, and when they're called upon, being able to respond went from 52 to 41%. Teacher and student cooperation improved. Students got along better. Less fighting, pushing, shoving, agitating each other. Another very important thing was doing their homework markedly improved. The attention in the classroom, paying attention to the teacher rather than just talking back and forth between the rows, improved. And the most important thing that the teachers said was the learning environment went from about 25% to 81%. And that's what the second independent monitor that visited and interviewed the teachers really got our attention. And you will see on the right-hand side also the grade point averages increased significantly. Now, the academic performance of those that had grades, that the improvement in their scores went from 2.98 to 3.65, 3.63, which may not seem like too much. The teachers' subjective evaluations went from 2.7 to 3.6, but this is for all the students, and it's approaching superior. Now, that small amount of improvement may not register heavily with you, but Scientific American had an article with 4 academic educators that train teachers, and they pointed out in Kentucky and in Northern State and in California, they had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to improve academic performance and elevate the performance of the students, and they could tell absolutely no improvement by more time on task, special training to the teachers to handle children that are ADD, ADHD, and new materials to try to enrich their interest in all. And so this, just by very economical, simple, more comprehensive nutrition for these children, got results that thousands of dollars had not produced. Now, the learning environment, the teachers, you can see how the conflicts went down, how the classroom noise went down, how classroom disruptions went down. And again, these are teacher ratings, and the ability to grasp facts went up. The class participation improved. Cooperation between the teachers and with students and students, the homework being done and attention in class, and again, the learning environment, which the teachers really, really relished. These are the duplication of the slides I just showed you for emphasis that more comprehensive nutrition of the fruits and vegetables added to the active ingredient, the aloe, got benefits that thousands of dollars had not done in 3 different states. One of the first really significant changes was that, as is generally required in schooling, they had parent meetings periodically. And in the past, because of this welfare, fact is, Cabrini Green was the largest welfare housing project that the federal government had produced there in Chicago, and no one showed up on Parents' Night. However, after starting the Brown Bears, every student had somebody, a mother or a father or both of them, come to the next meeting. And they came in and says, "What are you doing up here at the school?" They said, "My child comes home, gets out their books without any prompting or anything, does their homework, and says, most important, they don't fight with their older or younger brothers and sisters or the next door neighbors. We ask them to do something and they do it. We ask them to quit doing something and they quit. This is not what has been common with my child. What are you doing?" Well, of course, they found out that they were getting, when they arrived at noon and when they got ready to go home each school day, these brown bears that contain more comprehensive nutrition, which simply stated are nutrient molecules that used to be in the family garden and orchard when you had plant matured ripening so that the genes in the plant could put the nutrients into the thing. And of course, in this modern era, you can have fruits and vegetables all year round that when I was young, you could only get during the local growing season because a family owned the grocery store and few things were in the store that came from more than 50 or 100 miles away. So you were limited to the local growing season. Well, now you can have all of these 12 months of the year, watermelon, cantaloupes, all your berries, 12 months of the year. How do they do this? Well, agribusiness uh, follows the growth zones across the continent, and they pick the produce green so it'll have a shipping life and a shelf life. And when you pick the produce green, the principal molecule in it is chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll is a wonderful, incredible molecule that's active in photosynthesis, but it is not required in cellular synthesis to make bioactive molecules that make the different organs of the body operate, the biochemistry of them and their physiology properly. So what we do now is that these vine ripened produce that agribusiness finds used to throw on the ground because it'd be rotten by the time it reached to the market, can be rushed to the commercial freeze dryer, reduced to a powder, and that is what we put in the brown bears that they were taking, the actual nutrients that provided what the DNA requires in cellular synthesis to make bioactive molecules to allow the organs to properly function. And what we're seeing here is the increased improvement function of the brain. Now, 12 of these students dropped their medications that they were taking for attention deficit disorder and hyperactivity because they didn't need it. And the principal said that disciplinary actions decreased 90% by the school log entries in day-to-day attendance improved 45%. Property damage was reduced 50%. Fact is, the teacher said that a piece of paper or a pencil was a treasured item in this little school, and that they couldn't even leave the erasers or the chalk overnight. It wouldn't be there the next day. Well, and the bathrooms that the children had been damaged, and only one was functional, and that all of this decrease, that minor illnesses were down 75%, and the noise level in the school rated by the teachers was a reduction of 95%. Anyway, as I mentioned to you, the independent evaluator that interviewed the teachers, that they were getting fulfillment of what they studied to be able to teach, and that the children were responding and getting benefits. Now, we on these evaluation forms that we gave you the summary of the information in the graphs, one of the teachers wrote a sequence that brought tears to my eyes, and it was the story of Elmira and Joshua. She said after recess, Joshua came in, he had these glasses on. He says, the teacher says, where in the world did you get those glasses? They're just like Elmira's. Put them on her desk. Don't you touch them. If you break them, her mother and father would be all over me. And he started to protest and says, don't you backtalk me. You put those glasses on that desk of Elmira. In a few minutes, Elmira came in and she had her glasses on, which were just like the pair that were sitting on her desk. She turned to Joshua and says, "Whose glasses did you have on?" He said, "They were mine. I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't let me." She says, "Well, you've been in this school for 2 years. You've never worn glasses. Why are you wearing glasses today?" He says, "Why should I wear glasses? I can't read." She says, "Well, why are you wearing them today?" He says, "I want to learn to read." So not only were there improvements in this very uh, unusual group of students that had fallen through all the cracks of the public schools, but there were changes in attitudes, other words, function of the mind, which is so important because you cannot teach anybody anything until they want it. And Joshua wanted to learn to read. Um, we could say that that's the end of it, but a few months later, the dietary supplement company that I was the medical director for had a large conference in Chicago, and the authors of this paper came and brought three little girls, and they expressed thank you and appreciation for the company providing at no cost the brown bears. And one of them was a pint size, about 12-year-old, I'd say, a future Oprah Winfrey. And she went to the microphone and very assertively says, "You don't know where we live and what kind of a place it is." She says, "You seldom go to school or go home that you don't hear gunshots off in the distance." She said, "The only people that have anything worthwhile, like a car or nice clothes or whatever they want, are selling drugs or prostituting sex." But she says, "I've decided I want to get my GED and I want to go to college and get a journalism degree." Well, of course, everyone clapped and all, and somebody spoke out very loud to her, "What has happened?" She says, "We can now see the difference in what the possibilities are of what we can do." Says, "My brother wants to go to mechanic school and learn how to be a mechanic, and my cousin wants to go to plumbing school." And says, "We can see that there's no future in the type of life that's been all around us here in our where we live." So this not only improves the grades, but it improves the thinking process or the function of the mind for evaluating what the future holds for these young people. Fact is, on my computer in my office, I have a thing that this little girl that said she wanted to go to journalism school. She has done it. She has gotten the degree, and she is a video uh, producer now, and is, if I understand correctly, she has even done a sequence with the Disney group out of California. So more comprehensive nutrition built around the active ingredient of aloe, which is in the current dietary supplement formulation that I have developed over the last 39 years that is called New Eden, produces wonderful benefits in children that suffer from this common problem that now is in the magazines and on the covers of publications, that when I was in medical school wasn't even in the clinics or the textbooks. And what has happened? We have plowed up more gardens and orchards. A shopping center is in the area, or condos, or duplicated apartments where there used to be gardens, and when we had a more agrarian society. With that, I'd like to close and say that this has been an incredible, rewarding personal and professional experience for me to be involved with what can be done with more comprehensive nutrition, as is available by just adding the ingredients that are low or missing that are present in New Eden, that puts or restores to the food chain molecules that are low or absent in the modern food chain, or we avoid because of choices like the diet of the cruciferous vegetables that we don't particularly eat more, that the active amino acids from are one of the components in New Eden. With that, thank you very much.